you my gratitude for the exceptional work we've been doing over the past year or so. And I want to call this meeting to order. And I think the first thing I have to do is I have to defer to our executive director, Mafalda Avellino, to administer both the election of chair and vice chair. Mafalda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. In accordance with our Section 28 of the Police Services Act and the board's procedural bylaw, I will act as the presiding officer until the board elects its chair and vice chair for 2022. We will now proceed with the election of the board chair. I now invite nominations for the position of chair of the board.
I will move Mayor Bevilacqua to be chair of the Police Services Board.
Thank you, Chairman Emerson. May I have a seconder? Mrs. McCullough, you second that one? Thank you. Mayor Bevilacqua, do you consent to your nomination?
Yes, I do.
Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? Is there a motion that nominations for the position of chair be closed? May I have a mover? Ms. Vang, seconder, Mr. Purchell. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Is there a motion that Mayor Mauricio Bevilacqua be elected as the chair of the Police Services Board until the board's first meeting in January 2023? May I have a mover and a seconder, Mr. Regional Chairman and Mrs. McCullough? Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. I declare Mayor Mauricio Bevilacqua of the City of Vaughan as the chair of the Police Services Board until the first board meeting of 2023. Congratulations, Chair Bevilacqua.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with the election of the vice chair. I now invite nominations for the position of vice chair of the board. May I have a nomination?
Mafalda, Mayor Pellegrini has been trying to get in. I don't know if you see him on the screen.
Oh.
Yeah, his hand has been up quite a few times, I would imagine.
I'm having trouble seeing him.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Chair. Mayor Pellegrini, you nominate Chairman Emerson. May I have a seconder? Chair Bevilacqua. Chairman Emerson, do you consent to the nomination?
Yes.
Are there any further nominations? Is there a motion the nominations be closed? Mr. Purchell, may I have a seconder as well? Mrs. McCullough, thank you. Is there a motion that Chairman Emerson be appointed as Vice Chair of the Police Services Board until the board's first meeting of 2023? Mrs. McCullough, seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. All those in favor? The motion is carried. I now declare Chairman Wayne Emerson as Vice Chair of the Police Services Board until the first meeting in 2023. Congratulations, Vice Chair Emerson.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chair, for being elected Vice Chair. One thing I will share with the board and those watching is that today, for the second time, I feel like Wayne Emerson and Mayor Pellegrini, they always get acclaimed, but that's because they do such a great job. Nobody ever wants to run against them. The rest of us mere mortals have to seek elections. But today I feel a little bit like you, Mayor Pellegrini and Mayor Emerson. Great colleagues doing great work for the region and their town, which is a pleasure to serve with them. I want to obviously express my gratitude to the board for the vote of confidence. I look forward to this upcoming year. This year is going to be another great year for the Police Services Board as we move forward. I think that the agenda will continue from last year. I think we have a good flow in this board. People work cooperatively together. We take on important issues that matter to the citizens of York Region, and of course, we're blessed with great leadership with the police. That is really second to none. Everywhere I go, I mean, I've had. If you don't mind, Chief McSerena, I want to share with some of the recent events that we both participated in related to anti-Semitism and building a fairer, more just society for everybody. And I can tell you there's a lot of respect for this organization. And, we, as board members, we really owe it to the dedicated men and women who every day in every way bring about positive change to our community. We're very mindful of the work that you do, how challenging it is, but we're also very happy and satisfied that you give it your all, and for that we will be forever indebted to you. Policing, as we have talked about a number of times, and as we witness at our board meetings, is really changing, but the way we've been able to anticipate those changes, and in some cases lead the change, makes York Region really outstanding. And so on behalf of my board colleagues, I once again want to express my gratitude to the chief and the entire team for doing all that you do. But more importantly than doing what you do is for who you are, because I think that leadership is all about character, integrity, and your organization displays that day in and day out in every way possible. And I know that one thing about our board members is that they're very, they understand the changing dynamics of society. They understand how challenging it's becoming. But to have people, professionals like you, who can actually embrace that change and lead that change is really something that we treasure and we cherish, because not every organization is as good as this one. And so on behalf of the board, I'd like to express my gratitude. Talking about diversity, inclusion, and respect for people, we now do the land acknowledgement. On behalf of the board, I would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on today. It's a traditional territory of many First Nations, including the Chippewas of Georgina Island and Mississaugas of Credit. These lands are now home to many diverse Indigenous peoples. We also acknowledge that York Region falls under Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties with several Mississauga and Chippewas First Nations. Disclosure of interest. Any disclosure of interest? Madam Clerk, I don't see any disclosure of interest. Confirmation of public minutes of November 24th, 2021 board meeting. I have a mover and a seconder for that. Mayor Pellegrini, seconded by Ms. McCullough. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. There are no presentations and no deputations. We will now go to communications, and there are none. Consideration of adoption of reports. We're still transitioning into the consent agenda, as you know, so this is still in play for all of my colleagues on the board. So we basically, are there any items that anybody would like to pull from the consideration and adoption of reports? And by that I mean, 9.1 to probably 9.10 right now. Anybody? Yes, Mayor Pellegrini, which item?
Mr. Chairman, I have very quick on 9.1.
9.1, okay.
I hope somebody will speak to 9.3 and also 9.9.
9.9, perfect, okay. All right. Anyone else? Now, Jacqueline, I just want you to know that I see the speaker and I don't get to see everybody on my screen. So if we can change to a format where I could see everybody, that would be really appreciated.
I think you have to change your view. It's in the top right-hand corner. If you just click on view and make sure it's on gallery.
Yes, I have it on gallery now. Look at that. That was quick. Okay, thank you. And I also have Chairman Emerson. You would like to?
Yes, I'd like to 9.8, please.
9.8. Okay, anybody else? And I see Steve. Steve?
Yes, 9.10.
9. Okay, that's the award for a police helicopter. That's the one you're interested in?
No, fees for motor.
Oh, sorry, 9.10, 9.10. Okay, sorry. Fees from motor vehicle collisions. Okay, I get that. apologize. All right. Okay. Oh, I see Jennifer as well. Ms. Fank?
Thank you, Maurizio. I also would like to add 9.4 and 9.9, please.
9.4 and 9.9. That's okay. So, all right. Anybody else? I have Mr. Purchell. Please go ahead.
Your worship, I would like to propose that an item be added, and that specifically is a quick update to the board by the anti-racism subcommittee.
Okay. All right. Do we want to make that 9.11? Can we do that?
With your agreement, of course.
Yes. Well, let's move a motion to that so that we can, that it be added. It's moved by Purchell, seconded by Pellegrini. All those in favor? Against, motion carries. So it will be an update on 9.11 will be an update on racism. Okay. All right. Well, this is a little bit different than last time with the consent agenda. We've practically called every item. So I guess I'll have a motion to approve all the rest of the items. Who would like to move that? Chairman Emerson, would you like to do that for me? Thank you so much. And Steve, would you like to second that? Thank you. All those in favor? Against, motion carried. So 9.2 is gone, 9.5 is gone, just for those of you who are keeping track, 9.6, 9.7. Okay, and we've added a 9.11. Award of item number 9.1, award for police helicopter. Who's going to speak on that? Questions?
Mine's just a very quick, I'm pleased to see that it's under budget. My question is, because we are one of the only ones that offer that, if it's used in other jurisdictions, do we get to bill back on that?
Yes, we do, Mayor Pellegrini. We have a fee schedule for that, and we bill back to others who do request out, and we capture that information. And for example, any other service that doesn't have a chopper and requests some service by us, we do bill back. The other piece to that is we have a shared service agreement with Durham Regional Police, who also have a chopper. So when theirs is down, they will use our services and vice versa. From time to time, you'll see as we move forward, there will be times when we'll come forward with reports around maintenance and our chopper's down for 2 weeks for maintenance. During that 2-week period, we'll see, we'll make our request to Durham, and Durham will cover off for York and vice versa. So in cases like that, we aren't billing back just due to the fact that we are in a shared service, but in cases where it's an organization that does not have access to one, we will.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. I'd be pleased to move.
Move by Mayor Pellegrini, but we still have some speakers here. But who's going to second that? Just I'm going to get the Chair Emerson to second that. If that's okay. Ms. Pang, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I support this purchase, and I just have a quick question on the RFP process, please. I noticed that the RFP went out in December and then closing early January. That's not even a month given the holidays, and I just want to understand the circumstance around the timing, and is that the reason that ending with one bidder only in this process, because it's a very significant item and there's only one bidder, and with that RFP window, I would like to understand the circumstance, please.
Thanks, Ms. Fang. I'll turn it over to Manager Jeff Channel, Manager of Financial Services, and he'll explain that process. Jeff, over to you.
Great, thanks very much, and good morning to the board. The RFP process, well, the fact that we had one bidder, that was unknown at the time of releasing the proposal of the document. The request for proposal process is YRP's procurement practice to solicit bids through the public posting of the call for bids. That some are done in the December to January period is not uncommon. That does happen all the time. Industry is aware, it's a very small industry, of police services that are flying helicopters, and industry was well aware that we were coming to market with a call for bids and that we would be coming in that time frame that we came in. So I don't think that it impacted any of the potential bidders or impacted the results in any way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions for anyone else? Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 9.3, and that was called by, I think it was called by Mayor Pellegrini, and I'll say a few words on this as well. Mayor Pellegrini.
I just pulled it because I had anticipated that the chair might make comments, but I assume I will be in full support of the chair's comments.
You are witnessing why he gets acclaimed all the time. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And we had a great chat actually with the chief recently about receiving this award. And these awards really are the manifestation of the excellence that exists in the organization. And moments like this, and I thank you, Mayor Pellegrini, for calling the item out. Give me a chance to really express my gratitude. You know, sometimes in the life of an organization, we don't take time to pause and really reflect upon how well we are doing. And I don't mean this in a conceited way, but I mean that in a manner that speaks to the number of hours, the commitment, the great ability to organize what we do in a very effective and efficient way, in making people feel welcomed in the organization, of giving them growth opportunities, of engaging young people, of encouraging young people, inspiring young people to take on this noble calling. And I do think that this award, Canada's Top 100 Employers Competition in 2022, this is actually the third time the York Regional Police was included on the short list for the 2022 edition of Canada's Top 100 Employers. And we take obviously a great deal of pride in knowing that we are in that class. And that comes as a result of commitment, dedication, and devotion to all that we do. And why is that important? Because, you know, as I often say, you know, success comes before work only in the dictionary. We all work hard. This organization works extremely hard, but not just that. The reason why people are drawn to this organization is because it's a leading edge organization. It's an organization that is able to predict shifting trends in society and actually acts on it and puts in place all the measures required to address those challenges. And so you have witnessed as board members and people that are listening into this board meeting, the great capacity of this organization to be a great place to work, because people like to work in places that are avant-garde, places that provide opportunities and upward mobility and provide jobs that are purposeful and meaningful and give, you know, and really boost your sense of self-worth and contribution. Ultimately, this is what these awards are about. They manifest and they reflect those efforts and those values, the intrinsic values of this organization. And so on behalf of the board, I want to congratulate the chief and the entire organization for really making us very proud. Proud in a humble way, if you know what I mean by that. Proud that ultimately, when you are driven by and you have clarity in your values, principles, and beliefs, and your actions are perfectly aligned to those values, principles, and beliefs, you get this type of recognition. And so, Chief and the entire team, on behalf of the board, congratulations and thank you. And if I may, I would like to ask the Chief to say a few words about this great achievement as well. Chief?
Thank you, Chair. Very much appreciate those kind words, and thanks, Mayor Pellegrini, for wanting to bring this forward as well, and to the board. You know, you've said it quite well, Chair. It's really all about the people in the organization, and I'll start with the executive command team. I have 4 deputies here who are extremely committed to their portfolios and to this organization, are doing an amazing job at keeping us on track, keeping the day-to-day operations moving forward, and always doing their very best to keep us at the forefront of issues as they arise, and keeping the board and myself updated on all of the achievements we're making, but also all of the issues that may be on the horizon that you may need to know about, or just simply that I need to know about. You know, they do a great job, and the entire senior command team pulling in the same direction as the executive command team, and that filters down into the organization. And I think, you know, I'd like to think, even in the face of COVID over the last 2 years, we are still hitting on all cylinders, and hopefully these awards are just another example of that. And as a reminder, we did bring a private report to the board back in November, just as a heads up, because these announcements hadn't been made yet. So the reason we've brought it forward here in the public session was, I think it was Chairman Emerson last asked why private, and now we're in public just because they've both been announced. So it is a great achievement. We're extremely proud of them. We're extremely proud of our people. And I'll finish off by saying that, you know, none of these achievements can ever be made if you don't have a supportive board. We all know that we have the board behind us as we try and push the envelope in some of these areas, and we'll continue to do that. I mean, I've got a list, and I'm almost on page 2 of a list of goals for this year and beyond. So you'll probably see some significant work coming out of our new professionalism, leadership, and inclusion office, and a lot of work in the racism and anti-Black racism front over the next year or two. So we're really excited about where we're going as an organization, and we want to continue to lead. And the last thing I'll say is, and I didn't get an opportunity, was to congratulate both you, Chair, and Vice Chair Emerson, for your appointments. We look forward to our continued working relationship, and we'll continue to do, hopefully do you proud and the board proud as well. So those are my comments. Thanks very much for acknowledging it, and we very truly do appreciate that. Thank you.
Well said, Chief. Thank you for all you do. I need a motion to receive the report. Pellegrini, seconded by Ms. Fang. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Next item I have on my sheet here is 9.4, Annual Report of Auxiliaries and Volunteers.
Thank you, Maurizio. I asked for this report to be discussed. I think it's a great report, and I just have some quick questions to understand the target, and then there's a terminology. There's volunteers and registered volunteer. I'm wondering what's the difference between the two. And then the other thing is the report mentioned on page 2, the target for auxiliary member is about up to 10% of our uniformed members, but we are not at 10%. I'm just wondering, historically, have we ever reached 10%, or it's usually at least level? And what are the challenges we are facing in terms of getting to that target level? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fang. Deputy Hammond, did you want to speak to this at all? I mean, I can answer the first part of your question, which was, can you give me that first piece again, Ms. Fang? There was, I think, 3 questions in there.
There's registered volunteer versus regular volunteer. So
yeah, so we have registered volunteers would be the volunteers that have been signed up under our volunteer program. So that is that 349 or so that I see at the end of the report. We have other volunteers who aren't registered within the volunteer program. For example, our chaplains aren't registered in the volunteer program, but they are volunteers to YRP. So that's sort of the difference between the registered program versus the non, because we do have people that volunteer with YRP periodically, but aren't in our bona fide volunteer program. Cecile, did you want to speak to the other questions?
Certainly. Thank you, Chief, and through you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Fang, your question was with respect to why we are not at the 10% amount. We do endeavor, but what is actually a good news story is a lot of our auxiliary members aspire to be police officers. So we have taken on a number of them as police officers. That's part of the reason. And the second part was we took a brief pause during the start of the pandemic with the hiring of auxiliaries because of, for obvious reasons, the pandemic. The auxiliaries are limited in what they could do at that point. But we have since been innovative and shifted and provided some new opportunities for auxiliaries. And I'm happy to report we will be having a more hiring. In fact, we have a class ready to go very shortly. So I hope that answers your question.
And Ms. Fang, your last piece, I think, was around, have we ever hit that target? I can tell you, at least dating back to when I was a staff sergeant in community services, I don't ever recall us having our 10% complement. We've always been working towards it, but as Cecile had mentioned, from time to time, we're hiring, they're resigning for personal reasons. It's an ongoing process, but we are always striving to get to that 10%. The highest number I can ever remember is in the 120 range, 120 to 130, but I don't remember us hitting the 160 range, but it maybe we did before my time here. So at this level anyways.
Thank you, Chief and Cecile.
Okay, thank you. No further, I see no further questions. Need a motion to receive the report. Moved by Ms. Fang, seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. Thank you so much. Our next item is 9.8 Public Relations Reserve Fund request for funding. Report to the Executive Director. Other Executive Director would like to speak on that.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I pulled the item because I'm very supportive of the Yellow Brick House and what they do. But my concern is we're paying $10,000 towards entertainment. I would sooner see the $10,000 go into helping the women and children in this instead of paying $10,000 for entertainment. I know they want us to come to their event, but I would just as soon give them $10,000 so that they can use it. But to pay for entertainment, I know it's in the big pot, but I got to think they could use $10,000 to put it towards some families, and I'm very supportive of that. But I think that would be the comment that I would ask Mafalda express upon to the Yellow Brick House organization. If they do come forward with funds, I sooner ask them to give us a list of things that they're going to do with the $10,000 instead of buying some entertainment for a gala. But that can be done in next year if they come forward. But I will move the recommendation, Mr. Chair. But sometimes we take this, they ask for funding for, you buy a table, you buy the bar, you buy everything like that. But I sooner send the money to where it's going to be used the best way. So I'll move it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, the point well taken. Moved by Chair Emerson, seconded by, who's seconding that? Mayor Pellegrini, thank you so much. All those in favor? Against, motion carries. Thank you. We now move to 9.9, Monitoring Requirements Annual Status Report, report of the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mauricio. I think it's a very comprehensive report and really appreciate the amount of work our leadership team and the entire YRP are doing, keeping the community safe and everybody informed. And I just have some quick question on a couple of reports that's not available, and just want to understand the process, please. The first one is board commendation report. I think this is celebrating citizens and member of YRP, and I feel there's another report at the end called Volunteer of the Year. Perhaps these two can be combined as a celebration from the board, and right now it's not available. I assume it's because of the pandemic. And when was the last time we did this, please? And then I'll just go through all of my items. And then the next report I would like to understand right now is criminal investigation management and procedures. I feel that's a very important work we do, and I would like to understand why there's no report on that one. And then there's also legal indemnification. And I think for this one, if there's an annual report, like just summarize the total legal indemnification cost we've incurred over the year, that for that particular year, I think would be helpful. And then there's another report called Status of Rewards. Just want to understand, is this more internal rewards, external rewards? And is that from YRP perspective or from board perspective? Like our top employer of the year reward, does it fit into this, or should this be a required one? But it's, again, celebration story. Understand the nuances, maybe we can combine a couple of reports, so make the list a bit shorter and manageable. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Any response to that, or we'll just? Okay. Mafalda, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I can respond to some of Ms. Fang's questions. To begin, your question around the reports around Volunteer of the Year and the board commendation. They do come to the board through YRP from time to time. Some of these reports are based on, sort of the cycle of review. Some of these, policies and items don't necessarily come on an annual basis. And the examples are Volunteer of the Year, board commendation. As I said, they come through YRP if they feel there's someone in the community that is deserving of either or, then they'll bring it forward. And it has happened in recent years. I think in the last 5 years, we've had a couple. So as I said, it does come from time to time, and perhaps it's something we can look into further with YRP if the board wishes to have a Volunteer of the Year on a yearly basis, then we certainly can take that up again. The other question I will leave with YRP, the one on criminal investigations. Legal indemnification, and perhaps legal can address this as well. Those again come on us as needs basis to the board. The chief, I believe, does have some delegated authority under that particular policy, and under delegated authority, as you know, comes back in a report, in a quarterly report or a semi-annual report. So that's something that perhaps can be addressed through legal or YRP. And as well, status of rewards. Rewards with reference to, crime or something. From time to time, the board offers a reward to solve a crime, usually sort of a serious crime. And in order to offer the reward, the chief and YRP requires the authority of the board, or whether it's through, whether for a new reward or a renewal of a reward that has to come back to the board. So we haven't seen that now in a few years, I believe. So I will leave the rest through you, Chair, to YRP and legal perhaps to respond to.
Sure. Any further comments from anybody?
Mr. Chair, I'll just have Jason Fraser speak to the criminal investigation management piece. It does tie into adequacy in ministry, but Jason, if you want to give a bit of an overview there.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning, members of the board. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, in terms of the legal indemnification, just to indicate that before the changes were made to the delegated signing authority bylaw from the board, we used to produce a report to the board each time there was a legal indemnification. And generally speaking, those were during SIU investigations when our collective agreements require us to indemnify both the subject officers and witness officers for their counsel. But that delegated signing authority now rests with the chief. And so you will see a summary of those indemnifications in the quarterly delegation report.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chief. What was
No,
the
that's
other?
fine, Jason. Sorry, I thought you were speaking to the criminal investigation management piece, but I can speak to that briefly. I will refer you to the quality assurance report that we have before us this month, which wasn't pulled, but it does reference in there our changing of procedures and how many procedures we change on a regular basis. So, you know, a lot of the procedural changes are found within that QA report, not specifics, but just to let you know how many procedures were changed over a year, how many responses we've had to deal with through the Ministry of the Solicitor General. And in terms of this criminal investigation management and procedures, it really shouldn't be no report. It should be as required, because in many cases, it's not required for an update. We take direction from the ministry on our you know, LE006 ministry standards are given to us through the SolGen, and we adopt those standards and put them into practice here at YRP in terms of procedure. And in many cases, those procedures just change or are tweaked throughout the year. So there's no real requirement for an update. If there's a significant change to the to procedures or to the ministry standards, that's when I would bring a report to the board to suggest or to let the board know, here are all the changes that are adopted. You know, for example, if and when the election occurs, if there's anything that flows out of the ministry that requires a significant update, we would bring that before the board. Those are my comments on that.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments or hearing no further questions, 9.9, the board received the monetary requirement status report. We're going to get actually Ms. Fang and Mayor Pellegrini move and second it. All those in favor, against, motion carries. Thank you. 9.10, fees for vehicle collision investigations and report. I think, Steve, you called out, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to discuss, this is a financial issue here. So on page 2, we can see that the fees for the motor vehicle collision reporting, the fees that the YRP charges covers only 13% of the cost. And in the summary, it says that in the past, we've tried to charge on a fee for service model, but we met with opposition from the insurance industry. The last 2 years, insurance companies have done extremely well. I checked the financial statements of the largest insurers for car insurance for Ontario. Everyone's done very well, better than ever. Not a surprise. I'm sure the YRP can support the statistics that there's simply fewer car accidents because most of us don't drive as much as we used to. So if the insurance companies are making more money than ever before, why are we scared of angering them by asking for them to pay more towards these costs that we have to incur?
So, Mr. Renat, thanks for the question. I'm going to refer to Jeff on this report because it was brought before the board because of some comments that were made or some conversations we've had between the board and YRP over the past year around this very issue. So Jeff took it upon himself to put before the board this fees for collision investigations report, just to as an awareness and for discussion. So thanks for the question. Jeff, I'll turn it back to you to maybe highlight the historical context here, as well as the rationale.
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Chair. Just some of the background to Mr. Renat and to the board, that last year that there was some discussion amongst the board around service fees and charges as it relates to motor vehicle collisions. Part of that discussion asked about what are the differences in fees charged between emergency services at a collision. And this report answers a few of those questions. That at fire services, they're based on a municipal bylaw, but many of them are based on a prescribed fee set out by the province. For ambulance services, there's a prescribed fee set out by the province at $240, but subject to a copay. But for police attendants at a collision, we are not there on a mandatory fee basis. So we're subject to a local bylaw. And again, it's a request-based or a fee-for-service model, a request-based model. and that's currently $340. The report sets out why are there these differences. And both fire and ambulance services, they benefit from a fee regime based on a prescribed rates by the province. And we just don't have that benefit as a police service. The remainder of the report provides background on YRP's experience. And as you know, as you'd mentioned, Mr. Ranot, increasing fees between 2015 to 2016, going to the fee-for-service model at $340 on June 22nd in 2016. And again, we did receive significant concerns and opposition from stakeholders in the industry, and the board returned to a request-based model on April 3rd, 2017. I do want to just highlight that since 2015, YRP's fees for motor vehicle collisions, investigations, and report are the highest in the province among our police comparators. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions that you or the board may have.
Thanks, Mr. Chow. Any questions? I have a question, I think, from Ms. Fang. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for Jeff and the team preparing this report. We had some discussion last year, and I understand there was some kind of legal proceeding during the period that when the board changed to fee for service versus back to request based. And I would like to understand the if this is the platform, or we could discuss it in the private agenda session, because as Steve mentioned, the insurance business company industry, that they are profitable, and also even before the pandemic, in a situation of a motor vehicle collision, the premium will go up anyhow, and that shouldn't be all attributed to the police report fee. So if that was the legal ground from insurance industry, I don't think it's a very strong rationale. So I just want to understand what happened. Was that the strong ground? Just we charge a couple $100 fee, all of a sudden it's unduly burdensome to consumers. And as service fees are part of our revenue, although a small amount, but I think more importantly is encouraging certain behavior, like in this case. And I remember, and I think at the provincial level, there is going to be a new bill, or it's already in effect, to make a volunteer background check free, because we want to encourage the good deed of volunteer for the communities, for the societies. So then similarly on this, we want to discourage unresponsible behavior on the road. So if somebody drive irresponsibly, then they should be responsible to pay this fee to cover the police services costs, instead of having all the taxpayers to pay for them. So I guess I would like to understand that legal rationale in that proceeding, if possible, now or in the private session, please.
Okay. Any comments on that? Would Ms. Fang, would you want to address that in the private session? Is that the sense I get from you?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, we'll do that. But we'll still have a motion to receive the report on the collision investigator. Is that okay? Ms. Fang, would you like to move that? And we'll get Mr. Ranot to second it. Thank you. Any opposition? And all those in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. We now move to Mr. Purchell, an update on racism committee. Mr. Purchell, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Your worship, thank you. Further to the direction and mandate given by this board on the constitution of an anti-racism subcommittee, on behalf of Ms. McCullough and myself, I am pleased to report that the anti-racism subcommittee, through the really extraordinary work and prodigious efforts of its additional members, including Ms. Jerisa Grant Hall, Mr. Gary Thompson, retired Superintendent Chris Bullen, Staff Sergeant Colin Alexander, and ably and actively supported by both Mafalda Avellino and Jacqueline Cogan, is meeting often and working diligently, looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion issues in general, but most particularly paying attention to the outstanding issue of anti-Black racism. This subcommittee looks forward to reporting regularly to the board to update this board on the important work with a view to addressing matters that have been raised before this board and await attention. I will look forward to, on behalf of Ms. McCullough and myself, bringing this again regularly to your attention with a view to, again, making all possible efforts to address issues that have been raised previously and will require this board's support.
Thank you very much for your work and the entire committee. Chief, do you have a comment?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Purcell. I just want to provide a bit of a highlight to maybe an addendum to Mr. Purcell's comments in relation to the, I think, 8 recommendations that sit with the board. We had, as you recall, the 53 recommendations that came forward in the past by the Black community, and the board has taken on its role in addressing the recommendations specific to the board. And as you, I may have made comment on this before, but I will highlight, we just have contracted the services of Dr. Shaheen Azmi and Dr. Lauren Foster, who will be working with YRP to move us forward around with the Black community and in consultation with the recommendations specific to YRP. And I just want to highlight the importance of the collaboration between the committee working specifically at the board level and Dr. Azmi and Dr. Foster's work here within YRP. As much as there are board and YRP specific issues that we want to address, we do need to synchronize the work that's being done. And I'll make sure Mr. Purcell and Mafalda and group that Dr. Azmi and Dr. Foster do connect with you once we move this down the road a bit further. But we just met with both gentlemen this week, and we're really excited at them coming on board. And a lot of that work will fall in under the Professionalism, Leadership, and Inclusion Office. So this is some significant work, and we're really excited about it. So I just wanted to add that piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief. Any comment from board members? I see none, so I'm left with the pleasure to express my gratitude to Mr. Purcell and the entire committee, Ms. McCullough as well. Ms. McCullough, would you like to move the receipt of the report? Thank you so much. Seconded by Ms. Fang. Would you like to do that? All those in favor? Against, motion carries. Unfinished business, we have none. Other business, is there any other business that people would like to bring up? I see none. I'm going to ask for a motion to convene in private meeting for the purpose of considering confidential items pertaining to legal and personnel matters in accordance with Section 35(4) of the Police Services Act. Who would like to move that? Mayor Pellegrini, would you like to do that? Chair Emerson, would you like to second that? Thank you. All those in favor? Against, motion carries. We will now proceed to a private meeting.